This just in, breaking news, our top story tonight. I have officially made my next landmark business decision by purchasing media site PolkerNews.com. You might be thinking, he should call it PolkerNews. Well, guess what? I am. Next up, Phil Hellmuth shocks the poker landscape by playing a Queen-4 offsuit hand for the ages. That's a rough one. I know someone that's going to be especially angry about this play.
Called a race with Queen 10, honey. Called a race with a Queen 10.
Also tonight, I have officially challenged Tom Dwan to a mano-a-mano contest in who can win the most WSEP bracelets at this World Series of Poker. My thoughts? This will be one of the most successful Tom Dwan challenges to date because it's got an end date. And finally tonight, a Midway Poker Tour scandal ends in a happy story. The owner of one of the tournaments on the circuit ended up winning a tournament to pay everyone back the money owed. A poker player winning a tournament to be able to pay people back money that they owe? Refreshing. All of this and more tonight on PolkerNews. Before we jump into the meat and potatoes today, I want to quickly let you guys know that CoinFlex is doing a giveaway. That's right, the first 2,000 people that sign up for the US launch of CoinFlex will receive $50 free with a qualifying deposit to the site. So make sure to check that out. I'll put a link in the description below. All right, guys, let's kick things off and talk about this Phil Hellmuth hand because it's a great one. And this comes off the heels of a recent clip where I had maybe a few things to say about Phil Hellmuth's poker ability. It hurts me to say what I'm about to say. It hurts me because this sentence is just so stupid. But I truly believe that Phil Hellmuth is the luckiest poker player to play of all time. And I think it's not even remotely close. I can't even think of someone that would be sort of close. Well, Phil's not one to back down, responding with, to my guy Doug Polk vids, 1, love you, 2, I hear you say I am LOAT, luckiest of all time, but make tons of mistakes. Thus, A, you could be right, or B, could be you don't understand plays I make. Either way, it's 9 final tables in the last 38 tournaments, and I'm not done yet. Hashtag positivity. Looking at this list, I'm going with probably A, but definitely B. I also have to say that it feels pretty good to be in on the ground floor of calling Phil Hellmuth the LOAT. Well, anyway, there's been a recent hand making the rounds from Poker Go where Phil Hellmuth ended up putting his stack in pre-flop with Queen-4 offsuit by 3-betting it out of the blinds and calling a jam, ending up being up against 9s and hitting not 1 but 2 queens to double up in the tournament. I'm just going to show you a few images here because I don't want to get another email from the Poker Go legal team. I think this is transformative work. What happened from here was downright shocking. For the first time I can ever remember, people started making fun of the play on the internet. It's nothing sacred anymore. Notable pros all over the place came out of the woodwork to fire shots at Phil. I'm not going to lie, I kind of got in there too with a quick jab. But we also saw some tweets from Jason Kuhn and Phil Galfond. Having your game insulted by top-notch poker players like Phil Galfond and Jason Kuhn might hurt your ego, but we have to remember who's the one that's doing the jokes. These guys are picking endless amounts of targets, put together a list. Before this play even went down, Brad Owen had jumped in there and said Phil has had an amazing career, but do his bracelets even mean anything if he doesn't add a Lodge Championship Series win to his resume this May? I'm just saying what we're all thinking. It's a good point, Brad. I think a full Lodge Championship Series scheduled this May, that might be just what it takes to prove all of the haters wrong. Regardless, look, Phil Hellmuth has an awesome tournament record in big field tournaments. No two ways about that. We've discussed this endlessly on our recent podcast series where we broke down who are the best players of all time. But the reality is, Phil, you do seem to get lucky in a lot of these places where you kind of make a move that you probably shouldn't and it pans out for you. That's not to say Phil can't do well in the tournaments he has in his career. Absolutely. If you had to ask me, Doug, who's your guy in a huge field $1,000 tournament? Well, Phil Hellmuth would be right near the top of my list. But if we're going to be playing high rollers with good opposition, you just can't pull these kinds of moves and expect for it to work out for you. Moving on, Upswing Poker coach Dylan Weisman had a huge tournament series over at the US Poker Open in Las Vegas at Poker Go Studios. He entered 4 tournaments and final tabled 4 tournaments, which according to a recent survey is the way that we judge if players are good. That's a 100% final table rate. This guy's the best. All the tournaments Dylan played were PLO or big bet mix events, and he actually won the $25,000 PLO event. So congrats to Dylan. Great to see you crushing out there. If you want to learn how to play PLO from Dylan, we have the PLO Launchpad, which is a course Dylan created to get people into the great game of PLO. If you're a new player, if you're a no-limit player, and you want to play PLO, this is the best place to start. And then we also have the PLO Mastery course, where Dylan is joined by Chris Wayner to break down how to play PLO at an absolutely top-notch level. If you want to learn, there's plenty over at upswingpoker.com. I want to talk about this Midway Poker Tour scandal because it's frankly fantastic. So let me break it down for you. Here's what went down. Essentially, there was a tournament in Chicago or in Illinois where basically, because you have to run things as a charity poker event, well, you're not able to give prizes out over something around $1,600. Because of this, people, when they played this tournament, ended up being paid at a final table in precious metals. And you never want to see people getting paid in precious metals. According to this article from PolkerNews.com, Midway Poker Tour founder vows to make players whole 17 months after silver payout debacle. Essentially, he recently cashed tournament. We're talking about Dan Bekovach, the owner of Midway Poker Tour. He cashed for his third MSPT title, and he's using that money to pay back the players to make them whole. The problem for players is that when they went to cash out with these precious metals that they wanted to sell, they ended up getting paid back a lot less than what their tournament payout should have been. So there was about a 30% discrepancy between what the payout values were and what they should have been given the entries to the prize pool. Here's a picture of the bags of silver people received when they cashed in this tournament. And you think cash is annoying? Try silver. I do want to say you got to give Dan some credit here. He owed the money and he ponied up and paid the players out. However, the fact it was 17 months after when he had to score in a tournament makes it feel a little more dicey. Regardless, it's good to see the players are going to be made whole, and this whole thing can be put safely behind us. Unless you play poker in Illinois, in which case, I guess maybe stick to cash. Finally tonight, I want to talk about my purchase of PokerNews.com, and this is something that's been in the works for some time. I'm slowly trying to figure out the exact best places for me to get involved in poker, and it became kind of clear to me that there was a nice synergy between PolkerNews and a lot of the other business entities that I'm working on. The reality is that there can be a synergistic effect between businesses, and we're able to maximize that by having different areas within poker that can kind of all help feed each other. Also, my last name is Polk. Another large part of this acquisition is that I seem to consistently be misportrayed in the media like some kind of troll. And I've seen so many articles here about things I've done or things that make people upset or mad or angry. And then when I read through the article, it's just simply not true. It seemed best to me to work on these issues from the inside rather than the outside. Now, I know what you're thinking. This reminds you of when Bezos bought the Washington Post, or maybe it reminds you of when Sheldon Adelson bought the Las Vegas Sun. And you're right. This is great. I do have a lot of exciting ideas for where we're planning on taking the company moving forward because, let's face it, things have kind of been stuck in the past for quite a bit. It's time to mix things up, change it up, and drive that traffic over to the site to make things better than ever. Let me give you just a glimpse of some of the exciting stuff we got coming down the pipeline over at PolkerNews.com. Now, for starters, there are a lot of poker players that we love to see about, love to hear from, and love to know more about. But not every poker player is like that. In fact, some people could have a detrimental effect on the site and people's experience. So certain poker players we're not going to be covering anymore. Not going to say any names. Another update to the website infrastructure is going to be an updated search feature. Now, we've tested the numbers, we ran the data, and it turns out that a lot of times what you search for on PolkerNews does not bring you to what you actually want to know more about. For example, let's say that you were searching Daniel Negreanu. Well, PolkerNews.com would recognize what you actually were searching for. This is going to work for all kinds of things. Like, for example, maybe you put in the wrong training site. Well, it's going to steer you towards the right one. Or perhaps maybe you were just looking for an article on Luke Schwartz. Regardless, this is going to be a game changer for the poker landscape to get you that information that's most important. We're also looking to put a focus on daily updates of the biggest challenges happening in poker. And what better place to start than the biggest challenge of them all, the Durrrr challenge. In fact, we haven't missed an update on that one in over 12 years. But the good news doesn't end there. In fact, I have other acquisitions lined up to really bring this whole thing home. And my next purchase, PokerStars.com. I got some new ideas for the name, and of course, some great ideas for the lobby. But it wouldn't be complete without also purchasing the Global Poker Awards so that we can give the awards to the people that should really be winning them. Let's face it, the Global Poker Awards has had some duds over the years, and we're going to remove that with new categories like Best Faux Hawk, most people called out in the poker industry, or perhaps retired poker players that play the most poker. Get some real improvements on these categories. Also, I'm going to buy... Oh shit. We just ran out of money. I'll have to wait for April 2nd.